the Spin Out, I am joined by a woman who defines what it means to truly back yourself when the stakes are at their highest. Paula Gowland was living a normal life when a sudden, catastrophic medical crisis turned everything upside down, resulting in the loss of her leg. It's the kind of spin out most of us can't even wrap our heads around. But for Paula, it became the starting line for a brand new chapter. She is the author of the incredible memoir Legless, a book that is raw and honest as it is inspiring. What I love most about Paula is that she doesn't deal in toxic positivity or empty cliches. She talks openly about the grit, the dark days, the sheer determination it took to reclaim her identity and her independence. Paula is living proof that while we can't always control the curveballs life throws at us, we have total agency over how we respond. She hasn't just survived her circumstances, she has used them to build a life of purpose and profound resilience. I'm so excited to dive into her story today and explore how she found her purpose when the world stopped making sense. Please welcome the remarkable Paula Gowland. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to have a very special guest joining me today, Paula Gowland. Hi, Paula.
Hello, everybody.
So nice to have you here. Paula is my very good friend who is also a Sunshine Coast-based businesswoman. And we actually met in costume a few years ago. Paula was wearing a very funky bananas in pajamas costume. And
Yes,
I think I was wearing a shearer costume at a mutual friend's fancy dress birthday party, and we started talking, and I think we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
and you told me that night this big long story of this massive journey that you've been through that we're going to unpack and talk about. But after that, I think we sort of started to know each other through the Business Women's Network, and then we were in an award together.
Yes.
Which was what year?
2022.
2022. Oh my goodness. I feel like that was a real turning point for me in my business journey, and probably was for you for a lot of reasons too that we'll chat through. So yeah, I'm really excited to be able to invite you in today and hear your story and share some of your story with our listeners, because I think they're going to really get a lot out of, the resilience and the strength that you have gained through everything you've been through in the last, how many
10 years
10
now.
years. All right. So why don't we start at the beginning? 10 years ago, what were you doing in your life and what happened?
So 10 years ago, I had my own cleaning business. So we had a commercial cleaning and domestic carpet cleaning business. And I was a mum of 3 with my youngest 7, 13 and 17. And we spent most of our weekends out rigging. I also worked for a company as a trainer. So I would train the long-term unemployed and people with disabilities on how they could get back into the workforce. So I kind of did that by day, and I helped my husband run our business at night. So I've always been very, very busy.
And you didn't know what was to come, and here you were helping people with a disability get back into workforce. And so what happened? What year was it when?
So 2014, I decided it was a great idea to hang freshly washed curtains.
Did you wash them yourself, or
I
did you?
did.
Okay.
I washed them myself. I probably should have given them to you
Yes,
to do. But yes, I washed them myself and thought it was a great idea while they were wet to hang them back up on the curtain rods to dry.
Seems like a simple thing to do.
Yes, so I stood on my bed, I had socks on, and as I reached for the curtain rod, I overbalanced and slipped off, landed on my feet, but I broke my left leg downwards in 4 places.
What does that mean, downwards? That means...
So
like
instead of a cross break, it was a down break. Yeah. And I smashed my tibial plateau into about 1,000 pieces.
So painful.
Yes, I think we were in a unit at the time on the fourth floor, and I think the whole unit complex heard me screaming.
My goodness. And so ambulance came, you went to hospital.
We went off to hospital. My leg had swelled so quickly that they were unable to operate. So I had external fixations put on the outside to keep it stable until the swelling had gone down to go in and operate. But unfortunately, and unbeknownst to me, I had what was called compartment syndrome. And so compartment syndrome is where the muscles swell so badly that what should have happened is my leg being sliced open from kind of the hip to the ankle to let the muscles breathe. And then I should have just been sewed back up and broken leg fixed. But unfortunately, you only have 12 hours to fix compartment syndrome, and we didn't pick it up for 24 days.
And is that something that the doctors could have seen, or it's just something that's really, you just don't know?
You don't know when it's happening. However, people are trained to recognise it.
Because there's symptoms?
Yeah, of excruciating pain.
Oh, my goodness. And so that then began a super long journey.
Yeah, so after that, I tried 7 operations to try and save my leg.
All on the coast, or you had to go out elsewhere for those?
The 7 operations were here on the coast, and I then sought a second opinion from an orthopaedic surgeon in Sydney. His name was Munjadal Medeiros, and he flew to Brisbane and checked out my leg in the middle of the airport, which was very strange. But he put me on the next flight and amputated my leg below the knee that night because septicemia had set in, and he gave me about 10 days to live.
And did you think that was what was happening when you were meeting him in the airport? Did you think that was going to be a possibility?
Look, we knew that amputation was on the cards. I was scheduled to have an amputation here in about 20 days' time.
Which you wouldn't have made it.
Which I probably wouldn't have made it.
And so how long was that from when the accident had happened until
So the first amputation was in September of the same year. So from June to September was the operations, and then September it was an amputation.
And did you have any idea in that time frame that was going to be coming, or you just thought, I've got a broken leg, it's going to heal, or you were starting to kind of...
No, I think at that point, after the 7th operation, my leg was actually unrecognisable, and if I was even able to save it, I don't think I would ever have been able to walk on it. So it was kind of almost like, okay, it's going to be amputated and that's going to solve all my problems, but didn't actually realise what other problems were going to come after an amputation.
Yeah, so you get the amputation, you think, okay, it's gone now, we can start to resolve this and get on with it, but that's not what happened at all. So what happened next?
So unfortunately there was probably about a centimetre left of infection still in the bone, and I then tried for almost 18 months to fight the infection with antibiotics. I was actually in hospital the whole entire time. But
and you were in hospital in Sydney, yeah.
Yeah, so I was kind of stuck in Sydney and not being able to come home.
And your family, your kids are really young. They're just young,
really
teens,
young. Yeah, well, Ethan
younger.
was 7, Ashley was 13 at the time, and Jessica was 17.
And so what did they think about what was going on?
Well, it was the dynamics of the whole family had changed. Jess had become mum in the family. Ashley had become a rebellious teenager. And poor Ethan didn't know why Dad wouldn't let him see his mum. So it was heartbreaking for everybody. And my poor husband, who had probably never cooked a meal in his life, all of a sudden had to become mum and dad and clean and cook and do all the things that he didn't know how to do.
That's amazing, and be here away from you, like
and
you
working
couldn't even see them,
and running our business.
Still running the cleaning business at that point.
At that point,
well.
yeah. So after probably, I think I gave it 18 months of trying to fight the infection. It started to then cause problems with my heart and my liver and my pancreas, and all things were starting to give out.
Your whole body was shutting down.
My whole body was starting to shut down. So in the June of 2016, I decided to amputate further and ask them to remove the whole leg above the knee.
And had they been pushing you to that, or you'd been?
No, they were trying really, really hard to save it. But
Yeah.
by then, after this, I think the whole entire time I was in hospital for 756 days. And
Wow.
my family had pretty much spun out of control.
Yeah, and you set yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
Because you've gone through this. You're a physical, active business,
I was
and
a really avid outrigger. I loved outrigging, and I was fit. I was, bringing up 3 children, working two jobs, and all of a sudden
in bed in a hospital with people you didn't know in
Yeah.
another city, in another state,
yeah,
with half a
nobody
leg
around.
and trying to hold on to the other half, and oh my
trying to
goodness,
keep the family going from a distance.
Yeah. And so what got you through that period? I feel like that was probably your hardest period, right? That when you were in that.
Yeah, it was. I guess I think the whole mama bear part comes out, and it was just that fierce mum wanting to get home to fix everything, and I really think just the thought of being so far away from my kids, knowing that they needed me and I couldn't be there, was enough to start. For the first couple of months, I didn't want to do anything in the hospital either. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to, I kind of felt my life was over. But it was a point where I remember looking at my leg one day and thinking, it is what it is, and I've either got to stay here wallowing in my own self-pity, or I get up and make the most of it and get home to my kids. And it was at that point that then I started, after 3 months, I think, of having my first shower, and, using the fight to get home to put my prosthetic leg on and to go for 10 steps, which turned into 20 steps. And then I was, walking to the front counter to talk to a nurse because I was so bored. And then, talking to other people in the hospital, and before I knew it, I actually became the social butterfly of the hospital and was meeting lots of people and having fun. So
You eventually leaned into who you truly are. But
yes.
Yeah.
But it was that I had to find something to be able to get my mindset right.
Yeah.
And it was the connection with people and being able to know what I was fighting for, which was getting home to my kids and my husband.
And so what happened from then? You got the second amputation and had started rehabilitation, and then when did you get to
when
go
I
home?
finally got to go home, it was November 2016.
So your son, who was 7 when this happened, was now 10.
10, yeah. Yeah, so, I'd missed all of that. I'd missed 2.5 years of their life. And when I got back home, although I had all the support, I had, the rehabilitation, I had the nurses, I had the doctors, I had some amazing nurses in Sydney and on the Sunshine Coast. But when I finally got home, I felt I was good and everything would just go back to normal. But how wrong was I? I walked back into a family that I didn't actually know anymore. Everything had changed.
Everything had changed. They'd had to survive without you and fill that gap. And so you're suddenly like...
I'm suddenly felt like I wasn't needed.
Yeah.
And trying... And, of course, coming home thinking that everything was going to be easy, you're still navigating a wheelchair in a house that was not wheelchair friendly. at one.
Because it was a two-story
we
house,
had a
right?
two-story
and you had to
house.
stay down the bottom.
Yes, and our kitchen was upstairs. So, you know, for the first part of coming home, I was kind of isolated to this bedroom and room downstairs that had no kitchen facilities. And we kind of had to make a makeshift, you know, jug and water, and so that I could at least get myself.
And a bell. Did you get a bell? I would have demanded a bell.
Oh, it was really challenging because I came home and I felt like I didn't want to burden my family, but all of a sudden I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get up the stairs to make even just a simple cup of coffee. And so I really felt like a burden at that point. And, you know, it was all roses when you first come home and everybody wanted to help you and everybody wanted to
and they're like,
and then it just got too hard.
Another person in the house we've got to look after. And
yeah.
And so did you critique John's cooking during this period in time? Did you go,
No. No.
Did you have to hold back?
I had to hold back. You know, I don't know how many times the kids had told me that they didn't actually realise you could burn mashed potato and that what were the black bits in the mashed potato. So I was like,
and you're like, I still have to rely on him to be fed as well. I've just got to hold it in. Sorry,
yes,
John.
yes. So, I mean, look, he learnt a lot too. But does he still cook now? No.
He's like, I'm done. My time is done.
Yes, that was definitely not his forte.
And so what happened after that? Because you ended up back in hospital again, didn't you?
Yeah, so I, you know, in the house that I lived in downstairs, in the bedroom downstairs, I went to the toilet one particular night and my prosthetic leg malfunctioned and I fell over and broke my other leg. So you've got to picture an amputee that can't really walk with, was really just learning how to use a prosthetic, and then she breaks the other leg.
Oh my God.
And I think that was the moment that nearly pushed me over the edge, because I was then bound to a wheelchair for the next 12 to 14 weeks. And
did you just think, what is wrong with me? What is going on here?
Yeah, out of everything that I'd been through, to finally get home and then break my other leg, what it did was it just triggered everybody's emotions, because it was exactly the same. I'd fallen in a spot where, because I had a prosthetic leg, they couldn't actually get me out of where I had fallen because it was such a narrow hallway. So the first time, you know, the ambulances came and they couldn't get me out, and they had to bring a second ambulance, and it was chaos. This time was also chaos. So you could instantly see everybody being triggered by what had just happened. It was almost like it was deja vu.
Were the kids nice to you about it, or were they, because they were getting to be teenagers by this point, and I know teenagers are not very nice.
They were just like, oh my God, not again. And you could see everybody was just, it went back into that defense mode, and oh my God, we've got to fend for ourselves again. So it was that point was what nearly broke me.
And so did you go back into hospital at that point?
I didn't have to go back into hospital. I was in a moon boot for 12 weeks and non-weight bearing. And when you don't have another leg to even weight bear anything on, it was a really slow process of weight bearing, because both legs were, you know, still recovering. And yeah, it was incredible. But I also, a couple of years later, I had to go back into hospital to have some refashioning done, because when you have an amputation the first time, the skin kind of doesn't sit right and was causing infection. And yeah, so there was numerous types of trips to the hospital because I've actually had osseointegration, so I don't actually wear a socket. So I have a metal rod that's been pretty much hammered into my femur bone, and my leg clicks on and off from that. So the leg is always an open wound. but my bone is actually growing around the rod now, which makes it really, really strong. So I can kind of tell when I can tell if I've hit something, or I can tell from carpet to tiles to grass. I have a little tiny bit of sensitivity through that rod.
And how long ago did you have that done?
That was put in. So when I was a below amputee, I waited 3 months and had it done at the 3-month mark. And then with the complications, it was put in and taken out and put in for a second time. And then when I became an above knee amputee, 3 months after the amputation, I had the osseointegration again. So I'm the only person in the world that's had osseointegration 3 times in the one leg.
Oh my God. What a record. Yeah. What a record to own. And you've still had to have multiple surgeries, right? Because I know, like, I've only known you, 4 or 5 years, and even in that time you've had to spend time in Sydney.
Yeah, one operation was for the broken leg that hadn't healed properly, so they had to go back in and pull some bone fragments out that we chose to leave in there thinking that they would behave themselves but didn't. And then I also get... Every now and then, the nerve endings will grow into a ball and cause a neuroma, and a neuroma is extremely painful. And I had a neuroma growing on the front and the back of my amputation, and it meant that I couldn't lay down. So I could stand for 24 hours, but I couldn't go to sleep. So
how did you manage that?
So until I could get into hospital to have it removed, because it has to be basically opened and cut out, because it's the nerve endings kind of trying to find my foot. And they just grow and grow and grow into a really tight ball. But every time I would lay down, it would just aggravate them. So I spent I think it was a good 8 weeks before I could get into surgery, sitting up, trying to sort of staying straight as I could to sleep, because I actually couldn't lay down.
That is insane.
It was insane, yeah.
So at what point, and not go back to normal, because life never went back to normal for you, right? Like, you didn't go back to cleaning, definitely didn't go back to hanging curtains ever again. No. So, at what point did you feel like there was some kind of change that got you into that next phase of this is my new normal?
So when I was in hospital, I had to find things to keep my brain amused with, because 24 hours a day in a hospital room for that long a time became monotonous. So the only way I could keep my mental health up was to study. So the first part I studied aromatherapy and natural therapies, thinking that was just gonna, I was going to heal all of this infection with natural medicines, and until, it was one of those things where I kind of realised that without modern medicine, you could actually die. So as long as the aromatherapy and all of that really helped for my mental health, but it wasn't actually going to fight my infection. And so I then moved on to studying business. So I read, my plan was to get out of hospital and create something that John and I could work in together, because we'd been apart for, 2.5 years, and I didn't want to be apart from him anymore.
Did you worry in that time that he wouldn't be there when you came back, or?
Yeah, it was, that was definitely a factor. We were living totally separate lives in 2 different states, and in totally 2 different mental health states as well. And I think it became, I didn't say anything to him because I didn't want to put any more pressure on him on how I was feeling, and he was also doing the same thing. And unfortunately, his wife became alcohol. And so he took a slippery slope down with alcohol, which we also had to deal with once I got home.
Yeah. But you got through it, and you're still married, and now
we're still married, and all my kids are still
together.
Alive. So we chose when we finally got the kids sorted, because there was a lot of problems that we had to figure out with the kids as well. They'd basically had abandonment issues because their mum had been ripped out of their life for so long. And so there was a lot of stuff that we had to fix around that. And then John and I decided to purchase Sunshine Coast Art and Framing Gallery here on the sunny coast. And
not just a little business, you had,
we had 24 staff.
Yeah, 24 staff.
Well, we started with 4 team members and we built that to 24 staff and two sites. And it was an amazing picture framing business. And that, I think, became, that gave me an identity. It really helped me to get back into the workplace, and it gave me purpose because I needed something to feel normal. And working was, I loved work before. I loved work if I loved what I was doing, and running a team of creative people was really fun.
What was it like at day one when you started that though, and you're like, you've been in this hospital for so long and been going through all this family stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I'm around employees.
Yes, I remember on day one, after we'd finally owned the business for day one and we'd got through the first day, and I remember going home to John going, what have we done? After spending so much time on my own, to actually have to deal with real people was quite overwhelming.
With real problems.
With real problems, yeah.
Oh,
and I wasn't the most sympathetic person at that point.
Yes, you've lost your empathy completely by this point, I'm sure. Because you're like, hey, do you know what I've been through?
Yeah.
You can't not come to work because you broke up with your boyfriend. Get to work.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you were there for, you had that business for a few years, right?
Yeah, so we had that for 7 years. In the process, I think 3-4 years ago, we bought Sunquest Signs.
Which is a really big business.
It's a really big business, yes. And we sold the framing business 6 months ago. So we sold that to put more of our energy into Sunquest Signs. So I've gone from working with a whole bunch of creative people to working with a whole bunch of male tradies. So it's been really fun though.
And you've also, you can't go through this kind of journey without a huge amount of self-development, right? And so one thing you did was you wrote a book.
I wrote a book, yes, called Legless. So that is my journey of what it's like to go from a normal average family living and having fun on the Sunshine Coast to things that went wrong in our family that you just would never have thought of.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I was lucky enough to come to your book launch with Jane, who works for me, and we, I knew some of your story. I'd heard you talk about it, and I met you after a lot of this had happened. But to hear you talk at that book launch and go through the whole story, which we've just shared with people, which is probably only still parts, very small parts of the story. It was just so eye-opening because you don't realize, you don't think about all of, how much there was that you really went through.
Yeah.
And what that meant, not just for you, but your family to get through and build yourself up. So I would say that out of anyone I know, you probably have more resilience than anyone. So building a business is probably easy now compared to all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and look, I think the thing that I love about business is the connection with people. I could not have got to where I am now without connection with people really in the early days. There were people that were helping John and I and our kids that heard about our story. I had people bringing me food in hospital in Sydney and I didn't even know who they were. And it was just that whole a community of people that came around and showed love to some strange family that they'd never even met, and that gave me the love of being with people and helping people to be the best version of themselves. So I started a third business this year. Helping businesses and team to come together and collaborate to be the best versions of themselves in business.
I think that's so amazing, and obviously you're going to have multiple businesses now because you've spent all this time being stuck in hospital and bound to your what was happening and what you were being burdened with. So now it's like you're a butterfly that's coming out and you're just going to do everything you can.
Yeah.
But does it feel like it was like that's another life? Like it must.
It does now. You know, I think, you know, we were only talking the other day that when I talk about it now, it almost feels like it didn't happen because I've embraced it so much that it's just me now. You know, my kids don't see me as an amputee, and most people don't see me as an amputee.
You can never tell. You've always got beautiful shoes, and
so I don't. It's not something that I don't try to hide it, but it's not out there on show either.
Yeah. And so how are your kids doing now with all of that journey? Like, have they processed a lot of that? And...
Yeah, I think you know, we've seen different little issues in the kids as they're growing up, and you can sort of see where some of the things stem from of you know, the way that they had to be thrown into life. You know, my eldest daughter has 4 kids of her own, and she is an amazing mum and an amazing midwife. But I think that was her way of dealing with having to become a mum at such a young age to her sister and her brother.
Yes.
But she's doing an amazing job. My middle daughter, you know, we still have some issues that get challenging in today's day and age as well, and even my son still probably didn't make the friendships and things that he could have over that period of time, which has impacted on where he is today.
And we were talking about this before. Sometimes it's hard to tell, you know, with kids, like what has come from this journey that they've been through and what just has come from the way that society is. And
because he is also a typical 19-year-old that is doing typical boy things.
Yes, I understand that well. Yes, you're a few years ahead of me. I'm getting tips from you. But yeah, I mean, I just can't even fathom going through all of that journey and still coming out the other side as a family, still married. And
most people have said to us they don't even understand. Counsellors and psychologists have said to us they don't actually understand how we're all still one family and together.
Absolutely. And I've seen them. I've seen your daughters come along to events and support you at that, which is just, you know, so beautiful. And I'm sure your daughter, as she was having babies, was starting to realise a whole lot of things that she didn't realise earlier as well about what that impact must have been for you. Yeah. But so, I mean, what's next? Because is there another business brewing? Or?
Oh, no, I think 3 businesses are enough. We've definitely got our hands full with SunQuest and Leadership and Culture Co. and BX Sunshine Coast as well. We've started a networking,
which is networking, and that's what you were.
Which is what I'm trying to, you know, create a network where people can collaborate and come together that are all like-minded and all interested in helping each other grow.
Yeah, amazing. And so we might ask Anna to join us now. Are you there, Anna?
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Yes,
do you have tears, here. Anna, listening to that?
Oh, gosh, such a story. Yeah, really inspiring, Paula. I know that you've been through a lot.
Anna does all of our social media marketing, and many of our laundry partners will know Anna. She is from Brazil and moved to Australia how many years ago? 3, 4 years ago?
Almost 3 years ago,
Almost 3 years ago. And I wanted to invite Anna to be part of this story today because Anna's been through also a really horrible experience, and I don't know that some of our laundry partners even know what has been going on with that. So we thought we would share some of that with you today. And you know, one of the things that we've been really proud to, with Anna joining us at Laundry Lady, what we've been really proud to be able to do is to help sponsor her for her residency in Australia, so that she can stay here and continue to be part of our team. And that's, you know, been something that we have loved. And we had this really amazing moment, I think, back in July, where Anna, after several years of going back and forward with visas and all the things that you have to do, finally got her residency. And we also, Jane had her book launch. And so we had this weekend where we all went off to this book launch and were celebrating Anna and her residency. And I think at the end of that day, we had a little joke about how accident prone sometimes Anna could be. And why don't you tell everyone, Anna, what happened the next day after that?
So I think it was on Saturday, and I remember that we were all joking because I'm really outdoorsy, so I love sports. I've been like to everywhere. I was cycling on a daily basis, walking quite a lot, and sometimes like I would hurt myself doing something, but not a big deal most of the times, and it was just part of the fun. But then I was living this moment when I was really interested in climbing and bouldering with my partner. And yeah, I think on the Sunday after James' book launch, we went to the climbing gym and I just fell from 3 meters and I broke my bones and like they went all over the places. So I broke my tibia and my fibula in a really nasty way, like as people keep telling me, because it's very common to break both bones at the same time. But it's just it was a high energy injury, as they call it, due to the impact of the fall. So basically, I broke my pilon, like my tibial pilon, and it's the part of the bone that supports the body weight. So when I arrived in the hospital, I was crying quite a lot because I knew that it was something bad. I didn't see my leg. It was an open fracture, but my beautiful partner was there with me and he just told me not to look at the leg. But I knew it. I knew that it was bad. And I remember that some of the doctors, I mean, like people were lovely since the beginning, like the paramedics, all of the team, like they were really amazing. But I remember that one of the doctors just told me, oh, yeah, it's really bad. And like when you're there and you're crying and you're like feeling so sad because of everything that is happening, and you start realizing that it's actually something that is going to change your life. So I think I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I had 2 surgeries, and I just like it's been 2 months since it happened, and it's been changing my life every day. And I think like the physical part, it's really hard because you have to go to the hospital many times. You have to take care of your wounds. You have to be careful with pretty much everything. You have to try not to fall again, and yeah, like just some things that you never really think of before something like this happens. But I think like trying to take care of your mind is the most important part, and trying to stay positive. So there were days when I just wanted to cry and complain about life and complain about what's happening. But I think my perspective has changed quite a lot, and I'm starting to see the beauty in many things that I wasn't really paying attention to. And I'm really grateful for the people who talk to me and try to encourage me to keep moving forward. And you just start like appreciating the normal things that you used to have in life, like going to places, going to the beach, talking to your friends, visiting your friends again. So yeah, like uh, it's been really life changing in all of the ways, but I'm really grateful that I'm still able to work from home. I'm really grateful for the partner that I have. So like he's been helping me with all the things that I need to do at the moment at home. Like I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning the house. I cannot complain about this part. But
Anna, you weren't cooking before. Don't lie about that.
I was cooking. Yeah, I was cooking.
Your
But
partner
yeah,
is a chef. He does the
yeah.
cooking.
But he was quite tired of cooking. So yeah, like, but now, yeah, I think you just change how you see things. And I do like this part. So I read quite a lot. I write in Portuguese because it's just my mother language, but it's been helping me to understand the feelings. And yeah, you just have to embrace what is happening and accept. And I've been like in these Facebook groups of people who have the same fracture, because I think they just understand better what you're going through. But yeah, I think, I mean, like it's our healthy, and it's really hard. It's our like physical situation. But life is much more than that, and it's good to be able to start doing other things like you did, Paula, like building a business and just switching your mindset, because you cannot just sit and wait for things to get better and for your leg to be like it used to be. Like we
Yeah.
just have to take it and change our lives and do something good, I guess. That's what I'm trying to do as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're really proud of you, Anna, for getting through everything you have so far. I remember when Guy called me that afternoon, and at first I was like, oh, she's broken her leg. Ah, ha, ha, she's so accident prone. And then when he started telling me exactly what was going on, we were like, oh my God, this is really serious. This is, Anna who rides her bike every day to work, all of these things. This is going to be so life-changing for you. And I also knew my story, my beautiful friend's story, and I had that in my head, and I was thinking, I won't tell you about Paula just yet. But yeah, I thought it'd be really, a lovely podcast for us today to be able to share all of this, and for you to hear it as well. In particular, Anna, from Paula, and to know that there's definitely light on the other side.
Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's just really working on your mindset, I think, is the most important part of the journey.
Yes, and I think that's so important across everything we do, whether you're going through something crazy like this or building a business, which is way crazy, or whatever it is that you're going through. I think dealing with children who might be difficult, it's just about trying to get your mindset right is important in everything we do. And because I always say, the good is good and the bad is bad, but both of them don't stay around forever.
Yeah.
So what do you do now, Paula, when you need to get your mindset back to right? Because I'm sure now that you've got back into normal life, you've let all of that normal day-to-day creep come back in.
And sometimes I still do get overwhelmed, and we're running businesses, we're dealing with people. We're dealing with real issues and financial problems and issues that arise every now and then. And, when life does get overwhelming for me, I actually have to now retreat to be on myself. So that is where I go to be able to get my head right, is actually be alone and be able to work through that. I think because I'd spent so much time working in that space alone, that is what I've found works for me. So.
I also feel like that, and I haven't been through that, anything like that, but I find there's a lot of people and your mind is very busy a lot of the time, and so having very quiet time on my own on my weekends is something that I really value, that brings me back to where I need to be. And what does John do now to
I think John's way of relieving stress is he watches lots of movies. So he really, I think it's almost like, he can watch the drama unfolding on movies and things like that, and that's definitely his way of relaxation now.
Yeah. Well, we hope that your leg continues to heal well, Anna, and getting back to, you've started weight bearing, and we're going to take you away soon, and
yes, just know it's a process.
Yes.
Thank you. You'll see me walking in a moon boot soon.
But at least we've been able to. Our business is very, very remote based, working online, very hybrid in terms of that. So the actual switch for you to move workload into being bedbound has actually been quite simple, you know, and I think in a lot of ways it was probably quite good for your brain to get back into.
At one stage,
all of those things.
I actually had to move my whole office into the hospital room
Oh,
because
gosh.
we had it happened while there was. You know, when we used to have to print the pay slips at the end of the
Anna
year.
doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. And nobody knew how to do it in our business. So the printer came in and the paper came in and I had to start printing all the, you know, tax return part of the business. So, yeah, it was quite funny.
Crazy. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Anna, and Paula. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Oh my goodness. School. Great. It's been so lovely to chat with you today and to share your story. And where can our listeners get a copy of your book if they would like to read it?
So if they would like to read it, if you could email me at info@paulagowland.com.au and I will get a copy sent straight out to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
you.
Thank you.